The Locked On Podcast Network presents The Big 6 in 60. The 6 biggest national sports stories from the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Get the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 60 minutes. The Big 6 in 60 starts now with the biggest story in sports.
The Philadelphia Eagles made a statement in Baltimore, defeating the Ravens to improve to 10-2, 8 straight wins.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast.
The Philadelphia Eagles get a statement win. They have won 8 straight games now, defeating Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and the Baltimore Ravens. 24-19 is the final. And, Gino, this was a statement win. Look, the Philadelphia Eagles, they've beaten some good teams this year. The Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love, the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow, Matt Stafford and the LA Rams, Jaden Daniels, the Washington Commanders. Like, they've proven already they're the cream of the crop of the NFC East and the NFC. I'm willing to go as far, and I don't know if I'm a prisoner in the moment here. Maybe you can tell me if I am. But after seeing the defense, the special teams unit, and then the offense take over in the second half, I don't know if there's an NFL team that has a roster this complete, playing this in sync, to defeat a team like this with 2 MVP candidates and to completely keep Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in check. I'm convinced they're maybe right now the best team in football. Like, that's how good they look.
I don't know if I'm ready to say they're the best team in football after that game, but I will say
Show me a better team.
On any given Sunday, and we saw that today, even when the bounces don't go their way, when Baltimore fumbles it multiple times and you don't recover any of them, and early on, your special teams unit took 3 penalties on only 2 punts, which is insane in my opinion. Your offense was, once again, the 32nd ranked offense on the first 2 drives of the game. They're great at that bit. They love committing to the bit
it's
of
the
being
weirdest
the worst
thing I've ever seen in my entire
on the first
life.
2 drives of the game. I sat back for a second, Lou, and I was thinking, if they could play 12 to 15 minutes of elite football on offense, their defense is by far a top 5 unit of any team in the National Football League right now. And that's going to be what wins you a Super Bowl. I don't think it's crazy? The offense. It is your defense right now.
Like, Gino, heading into this season, I was as excited as anybody for this defense. On paper, I said it was the defense that I've liked the most in Howie Roseman's career that he put together. Like, it was that exciting with youth, with speed, with top draft picks on all 3 levels. But for them to be this far along in year 1 with Vic Fangio and this pretty much brand new core, like, yeah, when you look at the numbers, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, it seemed like they did pretty well. They kept them in check the entire football game, and it wasn't just the defensive line that completely wrecked. This was the Jalen Carter game. It wasn't just Zach Bond who had yet another big-time sack. It wasn't just Quinyon Mitchell who made multiple big plays in the fourth quarter, one-on-one with Zay Flowers. Cooper DeJean body-slamming Derrick Henry,
and it was
sunning
a spear,
him.
dude. That was unreal, man.
Even Tristan McCollum making plays on 4th down. It's the entire unit. For them to be carrying the offense that has all the where the money is and all the star talent, I can't believe it. I was such a big fan of this defense heading into the season. I can't believe they're this far along. This is unbelievable.
Biggest winner of the day. Didn't step foot on the football
choose.
field. He wasn't calling plays. Howie Roseman, that son of a gun's got to be grinning ear to ear.
They showed him at the end of the game. I'm like, that's the reason we're 10-2 right now. Is that
without a doubt, man? And it was just a perfect meshing, I think, on defense as well.
Perfect.
To get Vic Fangio in here at a time when there was so much overturn from going from a unit that is really solidified in Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham in terms of leadership, and then a whole boatload of new young guys in that had to grab that torch and go. Not only that, does Chauncey Gardner-Johnson go a game without making an impact? You could feel it emotionally type of hit against the opposing team. Is Quinyon Mitchell not the clear-cut defensive rookie of the year at this point? Is Jalix Hunt another gem draft pick?
I think they've got something there, Gino. Jalix Hunt looked good today.
From a school that had 2 names in 1 year, Houston Christian, Houston Baptist. The guy was an FCS player, former safety, converted to the edge, looked really good against the run. I thought Jordan Davis had an exceptional day.
Oh, yeah.
We have to trademark this, Lou. The Jalen Carter chaos meter, that thing was at a full from the get-go. Like, from the get-go, the guy is unstoppable. And when those guys on the interior are balling, the edge rushers can hoop. The linebackers are playing out of their minds right now. And the guys in the secondary, even when Reed Blankenship goes out with the concussion and Tristan McCullum has to come into the game, and Darius Slay is already out with a concussion himself.
Yeah.
In comes Isaiah Rodgers making a great play on Lamar Jackson on a third down stop where he stops him an inch and a half short of the sticks. But I think that play really encapsulated the defense, Lou, that if you are going to beat us, every single inch you are going to have to earn. And I don't think Baltimore did a great job in structure today, in my opinion. I think
the only times they moved the ball
when he went Superman mode, like you had to have crazy plays from Lamar. In structure, this defense did exactly what they needed to do today, and then some. And we keep talking about the bounces are going to go your way, Lou. How many forced fumbles does this defense have in the last 2 games? You're talking about 6 or 7.
Baltimore was so lucky today. There were 4 or 5
Everyone
fumbles
fell at their feet. It was crazy.
where
dude.
they recovered their own fumble. The Eagles defense should have had an even bigger day. But yeah, you're 100% correct. Like, the defensive line 2 weeks in a row against really good quarterbacks, I think actually 3 weeks in a row against really good quarterbacks, has completely dictated terms. And that starts with Jalen Carter.
Great way to put it. They dictated the tempo.
They dictated terms.
In 3. Yep.
And the 2 main guys for that were the Georgia boys. It was Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, who you needed in this game. That size against Derrick Henry, like, you needed that guy, and he stepped up. But, how encouraging is it, too, though, to see the game after you lose Brandon Graham, who had the best, maybe one of the best games of his career against the Rams. He goes down. You're already missing Bryce Huff. How encouraging was it to see Josh Sweat completely wreck this ball game, where consistently Nolan Smith is getting into the backfield, getting to Lamar Jackson. Like you said, the only time Lamar is making plays is when he evades the first sack and then the second one. Like, that's the improv plays. Like, that's it. And that's the best mobile quarterback in NFL history doing that. So you kind of just got to throw your hands in the air. But, like, yeah, in structure, these edge rushers, including Jalix Hunt, how much more confident do they make you feel in saying, yeah, we can be okay without BG and Huff in the meantime, because these young guys, they've got it.
Not just for now, Lou, just for the future. This is such
a long term.
It's an incredible feeling because there's a sense of sustainability to it.
Yes.
Because there's going to be a sense of continuity year to year, that there is at least going to be a portion of these guys here, and a large majority of them now, because they're so young, on cost-controlled rookie deals. The guys that are needing extensions, well, you could pay them because you don't have to pay anybody else at this current point in time.
It feels like everybody's on a rookie deal.
They're off the books. Like Milton Williams, it feels like he's the only guy you got to pay on the interior.
Another guy that had a big day too.
Josh on the outside, incredible turnaround since the bye week.
Dude, Josh Sweat was incredible today. Yeah.
One dominated that matchup. Nolan Smith is turning into the first-round pick that you hoped he would be. And
every move is working. Every move is working.
Lou, here's another. I know there's a lot of pivotal points of this game.
Oh, we'll get into it.
I think Jalix Hunt, there's one play in particular where they asked him to set the edge, and Patrick Ricard, their fullback, who is a 300-pound guard playing fullback, he is the lead blocker. And Jalix Hunt, who is a 230 soaking wet edge rusher right now, goes head first, blows up the block, keeps it inside. Derrick Henry can't gain any yards. And it's like, even our lightest guy right now is able to set and dictate, like you said, they dictated the tempo at the line of scrimmage all night long against the front, Lou, that has some dogs, man. We're not talking about an offense that doesn't rush the football and doesn't. I was going to say, outside of us in the league,
outside of us, it's maybe the best rushing football team in the league.
You went toe to toe and you played big boy football. The SEC guys played an SEC type of game tonight, and that made everybody else's job that much easier. And
they played like dogs.
I think Vic Fangio, and we'll get to the Kellen Moore discussion, but Vic does such an incredible job knowing where his bread is buttered, where his top guys are. But then when he doesn't have all of his top guys, they're very rotational heavy in multiple parts of this team, he's still able to get really good play out of all of those guys. And that's the most promising thing, is that you're only as strong as your weakest link. Well, if your weakest link is playing really good football, who was the guy that played the worst on defense today? And I don't even think that's a bad thing to say.
I don't know, like Isaiah Rod, or maybe it was Reed before he got hurt.
Maybe Avante because he played downright horrendous with that 2 plays, and one is an Aguilar drop and the other one is a penalty. But nobody
played bad. I mean, Gino, in the third quarter, one of our viewers just put this in the live chat on YouTube. The Eagles had 6 plays on offense in the third quarter. Baltimore had over 20, and they kept them scoreless. Like, yeah, Justin Tucker is shot, and that was the reason for a lot of it, but they were holding them to field goal attempts. I mean, again, you look at the numbers. Yeah, Derrick Henry, 82 rushing yards. Lamar Jackson had 79, over 160 combined. But what they did was they made them just take little chunk yard after little chunk yard. There were none of those big plays Henry and Lamar are used to. And I think that was, again, we dictated terms up front. They did not, there weren't broken tackles. And that Cooper DeJean play perfectly defines that. Even the slot corner that's a rookie was bodying Derrick Henry today. They just played angry. And I love that, because after seeing last year, the lifeless defense on that football field, what a breath of fresh air.
I don't ever want to talk out of turn when I say this, but I firmly believe Jim Johnson, the late great former defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, and even a guy like Buddy Ryan, former longtime coach of this Eagles team when they had a great defensive line, is looking down and smiling at this performance from this team.
That's Eagles defense. Yeah, man.
It is. I felt like I was a kid again. I'm like, This is fun. You get to the quarterback, even a good one, even a really good one, an MVP caliber quarterback. Were you hitting home every time? Absolutely not. But when you're at the blackjack table, you got to bet big to win big. And Vic Fangio did that, man. He schemed up an incredible game tonight. He did everything they needed. They didn't get the turnovers, but that doesn't matter. Because after Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who it cannot be said enough, the statistics are never going to make up for what he does from a spiritual point of view on this defense. After Baltimore went up with 9 points on the scoreboard, they only scored 3 the rest of the game. And you know what happened right before they did that? Chauncey took the entire defense aside. Yeah. And basically his message, and Tracy Wolfson did a great job on the sideline, basically broke it down and said, we just have to show who we are on defense. And like Lou kept saying, the overall tone of the message is we dictate what we do. And if you want to be considered one of the big dogs, Lou, you better get in that pit and scrap. That was a scrappy game, dude. That was an NFC East team playing an AFC North team.
It's a rock fight, man.
Exactly how I pictured it to go, and you came out on top.
Yeah.
What a win, man. What a feeling since the bye week.
I know. For a young defense to show up against maybe the most physical team in football, knowing A.J. Brown said it before the game, we can't, complain about no calls when it comes to holding and contact. Baltimore holds more than any team in football. And ask Jalen Carter today, that was the case again. They didn't complain.
Yep.
And they showed up for a fight, and they ended up on top. And again, it's not just the defense, but the young defense is the main reason you won this football game. 24-19, the final score. The Eagles are now 10-2, 8 straight wins. They have not lost in 2 months.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. An official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's 4 years in a row of losing to them, to that team in Ann Arbor. 4 years in a row where players came back and said, we want a pair of gold pants. We want this. We want that. We came back to win this game, to win the conference championship, to win the national championship. And once again at Ohio State, players are talking, and it's not being backed up on the field. Now, you may want to say, Jay, they're 10-2. I don't care about the record. I care about the outcome of this game. And the one thing I care about with this game is that you end the game with a W. And unfortunately, Ohio State's teams under Ryan Day have only won 1 in the 6 years been in Columbus. And this was a year everybody said, I said, Ohio State had it. I 100% believe that Ohio State was going to win the game. But when it came down to it, Offensively, they couldn't get it done. Defensively, the defense, if you hold any team to 13 points, you're supposed to win the game. 13 points, 1 touchdown, two field goals. You're supposed to win those games. But for some reason in this one, Sharon Moore did enough. Wink Martindale had Chip Kelly's number. Jim Knowles, I don't know why there wasn't more pressure on Davis Warren. I have no idea. We know he's not a future NFL quarterback. We know he's not one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the country. But all of a sudden, the things that have worked for Ohio State this year, especially later in the year, I don't know. I don't have the answers. The only thing I do know is this. This is not good enough. This shouldn't happen. Not once, not twice. None of it should happen. And for Ohio State, the season's not over, but you got to go back in that locker room. You have to go home, got to go to your apartment or your house and look inside yourself and say, what did I do wrong today? For Ryan Day, for Chip Kelly, for all the coaches, go back and look inside yourself and say, what did I do wrong today? Yeah, we can look at number 18. We'll talk about him later on because definitely, even by the numbers, not a good enough performance for him. 19 of 33, 175 passing yards, 1 touchdown. For some reason, his worst game was in this game. Worst game of his Buckeye career happened to be when you're supposed to win the game. I understand this is for Buckeye Nation. I understand this and I understand that. I get it. And I know he got popped by Hausman and early in the game. Hey, that was a big boy hit. People are wondering, was that targeting? Was it not? No. That's what you call as a football hit. That's a clean hit that Will Howard had. Devin Brown comes in. Will Howard goes back in. Do I think Will Howard, under normal circumstances, would have tried to go back in the game? No. But this game's different. He understood it. Caleb Downs understood it. You saw he played today. The defense rose to the occasion and did a lot of good things. Jack Sawyer had a pick. But for some reason, in this game, offensively, with the weapons Ohio State has, they didn't get it done. And everybody's looking at themselves. Everybody's looking at, why did this happen today? I can tell you, offensively, y'all chose this game to try to figure out this, to say this is the time we're going to try to show that we're tough. When everybody and their mama knows that Ohio State offense runs and the best weapons are on the outside. Now, I understand when you build an offense, you build any team, you got to start outside, then go start inside, then go outside. And so, yeah, you have to work on the offensive line. You got to work on the running game. But when you know the strength of Michigan's defense, the teeth of it is right there on the interior, please somebody explain to me why these coaches decided today to run Quinshon Judkins, to run Travion Henderson right at the heart of the defense, and they get stopped over and over and over and over again. The next thing you know, they're still trying it. They're even verified the gold badge on Twitter, tweeting out things talking about Ryan Day and Chip Kelly in this game, knowing Michigan's defense is the heart of it. We know it's on the interior. We know the weapons are on the outside. That all of a sudden, dive. Make it make sense. You know why I'm so frustrated right now? My wife was even asking me, like, are you okay? No, I'm not okay. Absolutely not. I'm not okay. Most of my life, and probably most of your life as well, Ohio State has, now I didn't live through the Cooper era. I was alive. I wasn't a fan. So maybe that's why this is hitting me so hard. I had Jim Tressel most of the time, got that 1 year under Luke Fickell. There was the 1 year, the multiple years, Urban Meyer didn't lose to this team. Then all of a sudden, Ryan Day comes in. He wins with Urban's guys. And I say it that way on purpose because most of that team that was starting, those were Urban's guys. The Urban recruited. Yeah, they stayed at Ohio State because of Ryan Day, but those are Urban's guys. We have not had a win under Day's guys. And this is not me saying Day doesn't know how to recruit or doesn't get elite guys. This is just saying there's something fundamentally wrong right now with the team in this game. You can beat Penn State. You can beat Indiana. You can go on the road and lose by 1 point to Oregon. Okay. That loss to Oregon doesn't sting like this. That loss to Oregon in 2021 doesn't hit like this because you don't come to Ohio State to win the other games. You come here for this game. You don't look at the Big Ten championship. You don't look at the national championship. But once again, what do we find about Ohio State early in the year? They put pressure on themselves. I know this is after a game and we're all full of emotion right now, but let's think about this really quickly. Before we move on forward with this show, we came into this season and heard Denzel Burke and heard the leaders on this team say, natty or bust. Denzel Burke even came out and said, we got to win every game. Most of the time, the average human being or the average athlete is going to crack under pressure because that pressure they're putting on themselves is unlike anything else they've ever experienced in their life. And right now, what we saw in this game is when it came down to it, your QB1 couldn't get it done. Now, nobody really trusts Will Howard to say he's an elite passer. He's having a phenomenal year this year passing the ball, career year like we expected. But when it comes down to it late in the game, can I trust Will Howard in this moment, in this game, or should I trust him to get the ball done, move the ball down the field with his arm? No. Now, you say, Jay, why do you say no? I had a similar feeling in this game on that final drive that I had a year ago when McCord was a quarterback. And why is it? It's because that quarterback, for some reason, is being put in a situation that I don't have the utmost confidence in them to get the job done. A lot of it with Will Howard was the way he played in this game. It wasn't just the interceptions. You got Ibuka, a crossing route. If you throw it on time before he breaks, that's a catch. First down, move the chains. All of a sudden, it's thrown behind him. What? The stuff that happened today is inexcusable, and I think Ohio State just simply cracked under pressure. Not the defense did what the defense, even with the defense doing some things that weren't good enough at times, they were on the field a lot today. I mean, way more than you would think against that physical Michigan team where the plan is to run the ball down your throat. That's exactly what happened. I know our emotions are every which way today, but trust me, lose 4 years in a row to that team, where 3 years, there was 2 years of cheating. There was 1 year that you still had the feeling of Stallions was still being felt with the program. Then all of a sudden, Stallions ain't there. This is a different Michigan team. They're now 7-5. Came into the game 6-5. Barely bowl eligible. Then all of a sudden, they come in and run the ball down. They run the ball for 172 yards in this game. 32 carries by Khalil Mullings, 116 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. I didn't think that was going to happen by Ohio State standards to Ohio State's defense. But when you ask that unit to do as much as they did today, that's the outcome.
For so many reasons, it was a historic night for the Buffalo Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast.
Happy Victory Monday to you. The Buffalo Bills defeated the San Francisco 49ers 35-10 and improved to 10-2 on the season and clinched the AFC East division title for the 5th consecutive season. It's the first time in franchise history the Bills have won the division 5 years in a row. The Bills are the first team since 2009 to win the division with 5 games still remaining on the schedule, one of only 8 teams ever to do it. Josh Allen became the all-time leader in touchdowns for the Buffalo Bills. The Bills scored 30 or more points in 9 games this season already. That ties a franchise record. 10 wins in 12 games so far this year. Half of those wins by 21 points or more. This is the 6th consecutive season of 10 or more wins for the Buffalo Bills. Oh, by the way, this is their 7th win in a row. Folks, we are living in the good days of being a fan of the Buffalo Bills. And I would encourage you to not take one bit of this for granted. Now, there's more for this team to achieve. I understand we all want more, but take a moment to reflect and appreciate the era of Buffalo Bills football that we are living in. I mean, I just watched the Bills beat the 49ers 35-10 and did all the stuff that I just mentioned. And Josh Allen and Sean McDermott are making snow angels on the field for an ESPN interview. That's the last thing. I watched that before I hit record on this podcast. Are you kidding me? Fun. This is fun. We'll do the things that we do on the post-game podcasts. Things I liked, really. I don't have a whole lot I didn't like. We'll talk offense, defense, special teams. We'll get into what's next for the podcast, what's next for the Bills as we navigate this week and the coming weeks. But I want to keep talking about this offense. What a night for the offense. They score a touchdown on 5 of the first 8 drives of the game. A touchdown. The offensive starters didn't play a snap after the 12:31 mark in the fourth quarter. 372 yards of offense. Again, remind yourself, the starters didn't play essentially the last 12 minutes of the game on offense. 220 rushing yards. Over 6 yards per rush when you take away the kneel downs from Mitch Trubisky at the end of the game. Buffalo's offense goes 7 of 12 on possession downs. 4 for 4 scoring touchdowns in the red zone. It's a heck of a day for this offense. Super efficient throwing the football to go with that rushing production. Exactly the type of game you needed to play in those elements. Bills are built for it. They got the quarterback. They got the physical receivers. They got a deep stable of backs. They got a good offensive line. They got a big play defense. They're built for it. Nice to bring that West Coast California team. It's been 65 degrees all week in San Francisco. Come on. Come on to Western New York. Here's a bunch of snow. It's going to be in the upper 20s. Feels like it's in the teens. Come on over here in December. Let's play a night game and see how that goes for you. Come on, Miami Dolphins. Come on up. Come on up from South Florida. Let's play a game in December. See how that goes. Oh, you want to go to the playoffs? You got to come to Buffalo. You got to play in places like this. Bills have a team built for these moments. And a big reason why is their quarterback, Josh Allen. What a special night for Josh Allen. What a special night. First quarterback in NFL history to have a rushing, receiving, and passing touchdown in the same game. And that touchdown, you know the one I'm talking about, one of the coolest touchdowns I've ever seen. First of all, crazy good catch by Amari Cooper. That's kind of lost in the whole thing, but that's a crazy good catch. One-handed, reaching out behind him. And Josh Allen said after the game, that's why he went over there. It was kind of a bad ball. He wanted to go over there and make sure that it didn't get tipped or anything like that. Cooper secures the catch, laterals it to Josh Allen, who doesn't just run it in. It's not like he just ran it in. Puts the cape on. He's flying through the air. Extends his arm, hits the pylon. I mean, one of those touchdowns you'll never forget. The pictures, you'll never stop seeing them. When Josh Allen is inducted in the Hall of Fame, that play is going to be on the reel. All the stuff, folks. All the stuff. Unbelievable moment in the history of the Buffalo Bills and in your fandom. You won't ever forget it. The whole thing. The whole thing. One of the coolest touchdowns I've ever seen. On a night where Josh Allen goes 13 of 17, 148 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. He also becomes the all-time leader in touchdowns for the Buffalo Bills. Oh, he also tied the NFL all-time record for games with 2 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. 22 of those. What a night. I mean, what a night. Fun, fun, fun. I mean, that's just the word, fun. The visuals of the game, the snow, the fans, Josh Allen doing cool stuff, big plays from the running backs, defense taking away the football. Meanwhile, you're checking all those boxes we just talked about, the AFC East, all the historic things coming out of this game. Just fun. These are the good days of being a fan of the Buffalo Bills. Now, there's more to do, right? There's more to do. There's more to do. We all want it. The team wants it. They're hungry. But one at a time, one thing at a time. And so far, a big box being checked by clinching the AFC East in this football game.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. An official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Big 44-38 win over the Bengals.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast.
Steelers fans, it is a victory Monday here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Your Pittsburgh Steelers have come out triumphant over the Cincinnati Bengals, 44-38, high-scoring affair. And what can we say about Russell Wilson? Can he cook? Or can he cook? I got a spatula here. I got a whisk here in my Cincinnati Airbnb. There's other items over there, but honestly, I wasn't sure of the names of them, so I didn't bring them over. But point is, Russell Wilson did know all the names of his tools because he hit 10 different receivers in this game, looked as sharp as he had at any time this team was in. This is what you needed. It's why Jenna Hart and I, we hyped up on the Friday show. We said, hey, the offense must rise this week. Everyone said, 6 field goals against the Ravens. You'll never win another game like that again. Oh, the Browns, see, your offense stinks. You're bad. You're never going to score. Doesn't matter who you play against. And, they said, the Bengals, good luck against them. They're going to do everything they want to you. And, the offense did put up points for the Bengals. We'll get to the defense in a little bit. But the offense comes in for the Steelers and dominates this game. I believe only one punt in this game. They did have a turnover in pick 6. We could talk about George Pickens and what he has to go through and how people just continue to throw him to the ground and no call gets said for it, even though that call is made the other way almost every time the Steelers breathe on a receiver. But bottom line is all of those things happened, and the Steelers offense still came out and dominated this game. Russell Wilson, 29 of 38, 414 passing yards, the second most in his career in a single game. 3 touchdown passes, did throw that one interception, not as much on him though. And again, he spread the ball around. Pickens, 3 for 74, Freiermuth, 6 for 68, Jaylen Warren, 5 for 55, Najee Harris, 6 for 54, Van Jefferson had 1 for 43, Cordell Patterson, 3 for 37, Austin, 2 for 29 before he got knocked out of the game. Skarnek got in a catch for 23 yards. Michael Pruitt got in this passing game. This showed the balance of the Steelers' attack that, hey, you want to overload the line, you want to play, all right, here comes that play action. And you don't have to get hit deep because that's what the Bengals were guarding for. They were trying to plug the run up front and take away the deep ball. And Russell Wilson said, okay, fine, I'll check it down on you. And he kept checking it down, and he kept getting big plays, and the Steelers found tons of answers. I wanted to ask about this being the essence of the Steelers offense, and I got that question off to a few people after the game. Here was Mike Tomlin when I asked him about that.
Mike, you guys targeted 10 different guys, or 10 different guys caught passes today. Do you feel like that's a big part of your offense that you guys look to do each week with the balanced attack?
We feel comfortable with our group. You guys asked us about that a lot over the course of the journey. We gained that confidence in team development. There's a lot of different playmaking coming from a lot of different people in Latrobe. And so this is just kind of a continuation of that.
And I got to give credit here to Arthur Smith. There's something that I was getting on for last week was saying, hey, these personnel packages, why are you trying to be so fancy with it? Why is Skowronek getting all these reps? Why is Michael Pruitt getting all these reps? And he's like, well, it's because I think they're going to win in certain situations. And this time they did. And they came up big in several tight spots, and they weren't asking Herculean things of them. It was, hey, you're going to get a one-on-one matchup in this play. Just beat the guy to the inside. Russell make the throw, and that's what they did. Heck, again, Van Jefferson on a key third down late in the game, the Bengals sent a 0 blitz, and Van Jefferson knows, hey, I just got to beat my guy to the inside. Russell Wilson knows, hey, they just need to give me about 2 seconds for him to make that route. The routes made, the throws made, it's on point. It's a 43-yard game, and it's a huge play for the Steelers offense. And again, to me, this is the essence of what Russell Wilson was always supposed to be for the Steelers. It was never about him lighting up the scoreboard all the time, throwing perfect passes 50 yards downfield for every single time. It was about facilitating the offense, getting the ball to the playmakers in the best spots for them. And if that means a jump ball for George Pickens, great. That means a jump ball for George Pickens. But if it also means hitting Pat Freiermuth down the seam of his own defense, that's what that means too. If it means checking it down to your running backs for over 100 receiving yards combined between them, that's what it means too. But it's about making the smart decisions, and I thought Russell Wilson did that throughout this game. Here was Russell Wilson when I asked him about the Steelers' potential on offense with all the different playmakers that he targeted in this game.
Russ, 10 different guys caught passes in this game. What does that to say about this offense on tape when teams have to study you and they recognize that many different players can get involved?
Yeah, I think the versatility of our guys and how everybody can catch our tight ends, obviously Darnell, and I thought Prue had a great catch starting off the half, coming across the middle. I think Pat and Prue, and obviously, big Darnell and what he's done for this season. I think all our backs caught the ball well. I was really proud of those guys. Seeing CP run a deep cross, former receiver, a guy that can do everything, a Hall of Fame player, we just have trust in him. And then obviously our wide receivers, anytime you have a guy go down like Calvin, who was a great player for us, had a great job on the touchdown, and isolated the guy. I think that, guys have to step up and respond. I think Vince Veronica did a great job of responding, did a good job up the seam. I thought Van did a great job of filling in, going to the right places and spaces, knowing things, and getting all of our checks and our audibles and all the different things that we were able to do, and the versatility of that. Obviously, GP is one of the world's best. And I mentioned his go ball earlier, just the different things he did today. I'm sure there's other guys, I'm leaving out, but just in the thought process of the versatility and the trust that we have with all those guys, that's what makes it fun for me, playing with those guys. And like I said, it starts with offensive line, give me enough time to make those throws.
Russ, coming in, did you know they were going to leave that little dump pass over the middle open like that, and you took advantage of it in the first half a lot?
What we knew is that they do everything on defense. They do all the different coverages. That's a good thing about experience. You just trust what you see. You trust your eyes. You trust everything that's going on. And they do a lot of versatility. They do a great job. I think their defense coordinators are tremendous in terms of all the different calls I get to. And we just had to do a really good job of just trusting what we see. And I thought our guys were on it. It's just like I said. I can't speak enough about what our guys did today.
Trust what you see. That is such a big thing from Russell Wilson. And that's a big reason why I was saying I think he can be the guy for the Steelers offense, because if he trusts what he sees and he takes what's there, it'll turn into big points. And it turned into big points in this game in a lot of ways for the Steelers. They're able to put up some points, some serious points when they need them. 37 points on offense when you consider that the defense scored a touchdown. But again, just lighting up the scoreboard, that's what the Steelers wanted to do in this one. They knew that, hey, this was probably going to be a shootout. The way that the Bengals play, it's going to be fast-paced. You're going to need to keep up the scoring. They did in this one, and they got it done. And also to his credit, Russell Wilson threw a little credit in there to the offensive line. They deserve credit in this too. Now, Russell Wilson did take a few sacks in this game, but none of them were crushers. None of them were like, oh, man, that's going to completely destroy the drive. It was more like, you know what? Coverage is there. Let's just take this short sack for just a minimal loss here and keep the drive alive. Or let's not ruin field position. And in the run game, they got things going. Najee Harris, 16 carries, 75 yards, 4.7 yards per carry. As a team, they average over 4.2, even with 3 rushes for 1 yard each for Russell Wilson. Or excuse me, he averaged 1 yard per rush on his runs there. But point being, they dominated the line of scrimmage. And Trey Hendrickson, the number 1 sackman in the NFL, they get 2 tackles in this game? Maybe never got to Russell Wilson. That was huge. That was huge for the Steelers offensive line. I thought Broderick Jones played a good game. Zach Frazier played a good game across the board. I still have to do a film review because I was in the press box. But listen to Najee Harris as he praises the Steelers offensive line for what they're doing. And also an interesting reason why he pulled up a little bit in the first half. There was a play where he kind of ran a little slow and then had to be out for the game for about like a drive after that. But a few interesting things here from Najee Harris.
What did you see how your offensive line, guys like Broderick Jones, Zach Frazier, they moving people?
Yeah, everybody, man. They did a great job. Like I always give credit to the O-line, but especially the tight ends though. I think that all them guys came in there and did a great job of just of just accepting the challenge that Mike T placed upon them. And and we took advantage of that, and that's what it comes down to. All of us got to create those explosive plays, runs. It takes all of us, the line and the tight end, running backs. It takes all of us and receivers. And, that just shows it today.
What happened when early in the game you kind of came up a little slow after one of the runs? You were on the sideline for a little bit. You get checked out.
Thanksgiving. Pat's girlfriend Jill, she made this little banana thing. I had too much, so I guess that I didn't know it affected me until that first drive. So I blame her.
So a little silliness there from Najee Harris about whatever was the reason they held him up. A little bit of a banana. I had to black out part or to remove part of the audio because it did cuss a little bit. But apparently he had some fun there with Pat Fryermuth and his family during Thanksgiving dinners. But point being, going back to the offensive line, this was a butt kicking from top to bottom in this offense. The running backs 8, the receivers 8, the tight ends 8, Calvin Austin 8 with a great touchdown grab. He got knocked out of the game, and it kind of made it not matter as the game continued. The Steelers kept going. And here's the other crazy part. They did all those things. Mike Williams didn't even get in the game. He was in the game. He didn't get one target in this game. He played several snaps. I want to see the snap count afterwards. But this Steelers offense proved balanced in this game. The Bengals wanted to take away the run. They said, okay, do that. We're going to hit other things. You want to take away the deep ball and the run? We're going to take away, we're going to attack the spots that you're leaving open. If the Steelers can do that the rest of the way, and the defense can have some really strong games, I like their chances down the stretch here as they are now sitting 9-3. They've clinched a winning season yet again, but they are in a prime position to potentially win the AFC North.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. An official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Donovan Mitchell could not miss. No first place for Boston. The winner of this game would have had first place. So, the winner of this game does have first place. It's the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Celtics would have had it if they'd won. Now they're a game and a half behind. Okay, December 2nd right now. Don't care much about the standings. First place still would have been nice. NBA belt still would have been nice. We'll talk about Drew Peterson later, that he went from top story to end of the show because of how this game ended. Let's talk about how the Celtics, there's a lot of Cleveland heavy stuff here because, first of all, they won. The math flipped. Let's just get this out of the way. Donovan Mitchell's fourth quarter was incredible. Hey, today's show, by the way, brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place a $5 bet. If it wins, you get $150 in bonus bets. That's if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Donovan Mitchell had 20 points in the fourth quarter. He hit all 6 of the shots that he took. 4 of those were threes, another 4 free throws. And that was the difference in this game. The Cavs put up 43 points in the fourth quarter to Boston's 27. This is, I'm going out of order. I have my graphic. If you're listening, you don't care because you don't see a graphic. But when you're watching, you see a graphic over here on my left. I'm going to go a little bit out of order because I wasn't sure how my brain would work. But this is where I talk about the math being flipped, partly. And I'll get back to the other part of it in a second. But 9 3-pointers, a piece for the Celtics and the Cavs. Celtics were 2 of 9. Cavs were 6 of 9. So right away, the Celtics did not have this math advantage that they have worked for all year long. They took 49 threes overall, and the Cavs took 36, but they both made 17. So the Celtics got no 3-point advantage in this game. And points in the paint, the Cavs had 40, the Celtics had 24. For a while, it was a little bit closer. The Celtics just didn't, they weren't able to pull off a lot of these margin advantages, these math advantages that they've had all season long. No Jaylen Brown, that hurts. No Derek White, that really hurts. Because those are guys, obviously, you can count on to not only score and punish the Cavs and punish some of those mismatches, but also to defend. The Celtics had to rely on closing lineups that included Drew Peterson. Sam Hauser was out there. And to their credit, they both played well. The defense wasn't really that much of an issue, except you let Donovan Mitchell go off for 24th quarter points. Would have been great if they could have challenged a couple of those shots. Now, he did get those kind of like in the flow of things. I think this game turned when Jason Tatum got back into the game. Actually, he'd been the reason why they were going off, or one of the main reasons why they were going off. He was a huge reason in that third quarter. He played the whole third quarter, scored 17 points, was a monster through 3 quarters. But then in the fourth quarter, he comes back in, and the Celtics offense kind of stagnates. They're attacking mismatches again. They slow down a little too much. I think they might have been playing the clock game a little too soon. They got away from the ball movement a little too soon. So things started to stagnate. When they missed, when they got cold, the Cavs were running, and the Cavs got these 3-pointers, a lot of 3-pointers in transition, a lot of 3-pointers when the Celtics were cross-matched and making mistakes. So Mitchell gets to step into some shots that if the Celtics were whole, maybe Jaylen Brown is up on Mitchell and making it tougher rather than Sam Hauser, because Jaylen is bigger and more athletic and can maybe make it a little bit more uncomfortable. And all the Celtics needed was for Mitchell to, instead of going 6 for 6 in the fourth quarter, maybe go 4 for 6 or even 5 for 6. If one of those misses, maybe the Celtics can turn around and get something in transition. And that's enough to make it, instead of 115, 111, maybe it goes the other way, 115, 111, and Boston wins. So my number one thing is, I'm not going to overreact to this win by Cleveland. It's not the end of the world. Like I said, it would have been nice to have first place, but okay, not a big deal, right? Cleveland, they played really, really hard. They're at home. Donovan Mitchell goes off. He's the captain of the Celtics killing team. He always has big fourth quarters against Boston. You got to know what's coming. And what can you do? Dude was great. And the Cavs came out and they, I give them all the credit in the world. Like they won this game. I could look at some things the Celtics could have done differently, but also Al Horford had 2 wide open corner 3-pointers. If he hits one of those, then maybe Mitchell doesn't get one of those other shots. There's Sam Hauser had a wide open 3 that missed. Guys had shots that missed. They had good looks that they really would like and would not trade. And I'm not even going to sit here and say, that was a good look, but they could have gotten better looks. They did generate some good looks that they missed. The Cavs hit. They made some great plays. They won that game. They deserve to win that game. And I don't come away from that thinking like there's any sort of regret for Boston. Although I will say that the Cavs come out of this with some confidence, and they come out of it with at least a feeling like I'm big on not letting results of the games, a win or a loss, color the analysis of the game. However, for the Cavs, the win was important. Not only had they just lost a couple in a row to the Hawks, and they were kind of hungry for a win, they got knocked out of the NBA Cup, which, may matter to some people, but they were looking at this Celtics game as they wanted to get back on track. It was their first losing streak of the season. And they want what Boston has. They want what the Celtics have achieved. They want to win a championship. And I've said it many times, the Cavs came into this season very similar to how Boston came into last season, with a ton of questions, player questions, coaching questions. Can they do this? Types of questions. A lot of the same things that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown faced as teammates, that Joe Mazzulla faced as a coach, that, Donovan Mitchell faced some of that same criticism that Tatum did. The Mitchell and Darius Garland stuff, somewhat similar to Jason and Jalen, that can they play together stuff. Kenny Atkinson as a new coach, is he a great coach, or is he just a great coach for a young team? Like all of those questions are things that the Cavs are trying to answer. The Celtics had somewhat similar questions last season, and they answered them in the best way possible. So the Cavs see the Celtics as a measuring stick. They see the Celtics as having what they want. And a win, more than anything, as much as they can take this and go to the film session and say, oh, yeah, we take all these positives out, winning reinforces the lessons. Winning reinforces the things that they're trying to do. And so this gives them a lot of confidence. Are they a challenger to the Celtics? Yes. And a win like this over Boston makes it a little bit tougher, makes that next game a lot more confident for them, and makes it a little tougher for Boston.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. An official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
All the Miami Hurricanes had to do to keep control of their own destiny was just protect a 21-point lead against Syracuse. But
you are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes.
21-0 lead. You end up giving up a 42-17 run the rest of the way. This was a tough loss, Blue. And first of all, I mean, I wasn't even feeling that great after being up 21-0. So what does that say that I don't trust my team to protect a 3-score lead?
Well, it says that the defense is not real good. And we knew that all year, Alex. I mean, it was a matter of how many points the offense could score, to win a game. And certainly you knew going in that Syracuse had an opportunity, no matter how far they were down, to come back because of Kyle McCord throwing the ball all over the place, their wide receivers. And I don't think their offensive line gets enough credit, because for that to happen, they have to protect him, and they did. And, like you said, when they got up 21-0, you said, well, wait a minute. Miami's just not going to wake up and say, hey, you know what? We got one of the best defenses in the ACC, because we know that's not true. You call it like it is. You have to be realistic. And Miami, without that offense this year, could have had just an average season. So you have to thank God that you got 10 wins. And people don't realize a 10-win season is really good. But you as a fan, you got to that top of that mountain. You just wanted to put the flag on top, and they were so close. And it's frustrating. It's the type, if you're a Miami fan, during the night last night, you wake up and you toss and turn and think, and oh my gosh, we could have just put this all to bed, and we could have been a top 4 seed, and it could have been all over. We have SMU next week, and those things, they happen because you could dream about what if, but you were there. And that's the whole thing. You were in a position to close this thing out, send yourself to the ACC title game, and win or lose, you would have been a team that would have been in the top 12. You really would have. Because you would have had an 11-win season. Your losses were to a Georgia Tech team that took Georgia into 8 overtimes. And then you lost, and that would have been your only loss of the year. And you could have hung your head on that. And even if you lost to SMU, because SMU is regarded as one of the top teams, you would have been in a situation where, okay, you know what? So we lost, but we're going to be in the playoffs, and that's the objective now. Let's win this whole thing. Now you have to sit and wait and see, who, and you know how it is. If it's an SEC team against Miami, Miami's not getting it. They're just not. SEC, they're 2 and 3 loss Alabamas and all these type of teams are unfortunately going to be considered. So Miami's on the hot seat to get into the top 12. Not that they don't deserve it. Come on. Syracuse is a hostile place, easily one of the best offenses in the country. But that being said, Miami should have won the game.
Absolutely. And as far as the playoff chances go, I think it helped Miami a little bit that the Texas A&M lost last night to Texas, because that makes them now a 4-loss SEC team. Because again, it's going to be hard for Miami at 2 losses to get in over 3-loss SEC teams. So we need as many of those 3-loss SEC teams to suffer a 4th loss as possible. Auburn could have helped us if they had beaten Alabama last night, but they didn't. I think the other thing, Blue, that absolutely needs to happen now is SMU has got to win the ACC championship game, because if they hand Clemson their 4th loss, then Miami's resume at 10-2 should look better than a 9-4 Clemson would. But if Clemson, and I absolutely would give them a chance against SMU, they'll probably be favored by a point or 2 in the game. In fact, if Clemson beats SMU, then Clemson and SMU both get in. Miami, cancel Christmas. They're not getting into the college football playoff at that point. So that's the scenario that we're looking at. But I know, Blue, you always keep it real with me. So, and I know that the answer is never just one thing or another. This stuff is always nuanced. But I see, so many Miami fans trying to identify everything that's wrong with the defense. How much of it do you put on coaching, and how much of it do you put on the talent? Because it does feel like they don't really have a plan B, and it always seems like other teams are more prepared for them than they are for the other teams. But then at the same time, I understand there are certain players who have gotten exposed all season long.
Yeah. How many times have you seen after a game and a coach, say, "Hey, listen, thank God that guy made that catch. He made me look good." I'm not a 100% guy who goes against position or coordinators, because it just happens. You work all week to put the kid in a position to make a play. If he doesn't make a play, that can't be on you. Although the fans are going to fight it and say, well, you know what, that comes down to coaching. Yeah, but if you ever go and you understand football or any sport, if you work with somebody long enough and you teach them, hey, listen, when he lines up over here, you got to be over here, just in a position to make a play. You look last night, the defensive backs got crossed up 5 times because you're sitting there thinking, well, wait a minute. If you're a DB coach or even the coordinator, you look and say, wait a minute, on a play like that, I told them, they must have watched a billion hours of McCord. They must have. And said, listen, when they line up in this formation and Gadsden's over here and, this guy's here and our running back's here, they're going to go 90% of the time to that way. So if all of a sudden they go that way and the defensive back guesses wrong and he goes the other way, why should that be on the defensive coordinator? It shouldn't be, because all you've done, you can only, as they say, and I know it's an adage, but you can only lead a horse to water. Can't make them drink. But there are times where you could say, hey, listen, that was, Guidry should have, known this and that. So the onus is on the defensive coordinator. Obviously, they've got to be accountable, but at the same time, not everything should be. And the same thing, you look on the offensive side of the ball, and there's a couple of plays that obviously they would have loved to have back. That maybe it was a read. Are you going to say Dawson's horrible? No, they've worked on that billions of times, but you know what? Execution is everything, and that from Little League all the way up to the NFL. If you execute properly, it makes everybody look like a genius, right? So, and I understand the frustration and I hear it all the time, like this guy should go, that guy should go. Well, it's going to be a revolving door if you feel that way all the time, because not everybody. You look at Ohio State. Oh, 3 guys should be gone from there. Their defensive coordinator made 2 wrong plays. Their offensive coordinator didn't think when they should have had. So what are you going to do? You're going to blame the coordinator or coaches for everything? Now, a lot of times it's warranted, but yesterday in some of those games, especially in Miami, that was on the personnel. That wasn't always on the coordinators or the position coaches. Again, I'm not going to take the heat completely off of them, but I think fans are, and when I listen to it, are putting too much on, what the coordinator should have done instead of what the player didn't do.
Yeah. Well, my take on all that is it's like everyone looks for a scapegoat. And I'm not saying that to necessarily, because do I feel like, hey, the defensive coordinator could be doing a lot better, Guidry? Absolutely. Sure. And like you said, he's got to take responsibility for that. He's got to wear that. But when fans do this thing where they act as if, hey, one guy is responsible for this team not being good enough, it's like, it's lazy and it's just too convenient. Like, it's too convenient for me to think that, hey, if we only had a different defensive coordinator, we'd be 12-0. We'd be in the college football playoff. Or if we had one different defensive back on the field, we'd be 12-0. We'd be in the CFP. Or if we had a different head coach, we'd be 12-0. Like, it's, to me, I wish it was that easy, guys. I wish we could put this on one person or one scapegoat.
Yeah.
But it's just not that easy. And when we come back, I want to, is it wasn't just the defense that let Miami down, although they gave up way too many points, 42 points. I guess 35 of those were on them. One of those was on a turnover for a touchdown. And that's part of my point. It was more than just the defense that let Miami down, because there were plays left on the field